Yep. Right, good morning, all. I'm Councillor Paul Heinrich, and I'm chairing the meeting of the Development Committee of North Norfolk District Council on today's date is. It's been a long week. 8th of February, 2024. Thank you, Jeff. For those who haven't attended one of these meetings before, officers who provide and present our reports sit at the top table either side of me. Members making a decision sit in the central area. And officers introduce themselves, please.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Lyon. I'm the Development Manager at North Norfolk.
Good morning. I'm Jamie Smith, Planning Officer.
Lauren Gregory, Democratic Services.
Harry Gray, Household Planning Assistant.
Nicola Ray, Trainee Planning Officer.
Morning, Russell Stock, Team Leader in Planning.
Fiona Croxton, Solicitor to the Council.
Thank you. Welcome to members of the public and to those who are viewing this meeting remotely. Members of the public who've registered to speak, I will call you to the front to the microphone at the end of this bench at the appropriate time. Usual reminder on fire alarms. We're not expecting a drill today, so if the alarm goes off, it is for real, in which case leave the building via the marked exits. Officers will guide you. The assembly points are in front of the building on the car park or behind the building. And if anybody has mobile phone switched on, please can you turn it to silent. I don't expect we'll need it today, but if necessary, we'll take a break about 11 o'clock. Reassemble after that. And the public, if the toilets are in the foyer, haven't already found them. So, apologies for absence, Ms. Lauren.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Fitch-Tillett, Councillor Beattie and Councillor Hankins.
Substitutes?
Councillor Liz Withington is present as a substitute for Councillor Andrew Fitch-Tillett.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, minutes of the meeting, the last one, but the one immediately before it, of the 11th of January. The previous one will be brought to the next meeting. There are 2 amendments that have been put forward under 106 brackets F. It should have the word have after negative impact that cars. So that should read negative impact that cars have. And under 110 brackets H, the spelling correction to the word disdain with a D, not a T, as it's appeared. With those corrections, anybody else wish to find anything? Remember for the apostrophe, are you happy this time?
Yes, we're very happy at the Society this morning. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Oh, we have it there, a true record. Thank you. Are there any items of urgent business?
None received.
Thank you. The order of business then will be as detailed on your agendas. So item 7, then any declarations of interest? Any item? Okay, thank you. We'll move then straight to the first substantive item. That's agenda item 8, Langham PF/23/1694. Ms. Jamie Smith presenting, please.
Thank you, Chair. The application proposes a change of use of an existing building to form a holiday accommodation and its associated land to garden provision. The application also proposes enclosures by way of a gate in the existing brick piers, a fence and hedge, and including a small shed. And the building once formed an annex accommodation to the Langham Hall, but Langham Hall and this application building are now in separate ownerships, so the annex stroke ancillary accommodation link has now been severed. In terms of the site context, the site is accessed off North Street from the blue arrow, as you can see. The application building is within green and the application site was in red. It's set within a wider hotel complex, as in the Harper Hotel is to the north and the Langham is to the south, which are both, so the application site within red and the wider land around it are now within separate ownerships. In terms of the existing and proposed site plans, the site is accessed off North Street And I apologise, I might have put Holt Road within my officer report. And you can see that the hatched area on both plans in front of you, the existing and proposed, shows of the shared access arrangements. The new gates attached to the brick piers are proposed within the yellow circle. The area in blue is where the proposed hedge and fence is to be positioned, and the proposed shed is in the yellow circle, and the application building is the one that is obviously identified in brown. In terms of elevational and floor plan changes, there are none proposed. The building has been converted previously. There are existing openings and none proposed, so there is no change. Essentially, the building is subject to a change of use only. In terms of the gates and piers, gates will be inserted in existing brick piers, one of which we'll see some photographs later. Is timber gates, standard new double gates. Post and rail fence, again, it will be a standard post and rail fence of 1.35 metres high, and obviously a hedge grown thereafter. And there'll be a small shed sited to the east of the application building with a mono pitch roof. Members will note that the office report is on pages 21 to 31 of the committee agenda, which details the application in full, local representations, including parish and other consultee responses. The main issues or key elements of the application are on the slide in front of you. In terms of consultee responses, there are no overriding objections in terms of the scheme from the following consultees: the Conservation Design Officer, Environmental Health, the Highways Officer. The application has been considered and a balanced officer assessment provided in line with local and national policy. This is provided within the officer report. I thought it'd be useful, obviously, to have an understanding of the context of the site. I'll go through a series of photographs, and a yellow arrow denotes sort of the angle that the photographs were taken from. So on the first photograph, you can see the access from North Street, which shows the paved area in front, which is the shared access. Will be through the application site and obviously for both ownerships. Moving forward, again, this shows the application building is the Flint building to the far end next to the green bins, with the sort of the shared access in front of us also. Again, part of the shared access, you can see that the Harper Hotel's got the dormer windows to the rear, and there's a small wall forming the boundary divisions and the buildings to the rear, part of the separate ownerships. This is where the proposed gates will be inserted. Again, the Harper Hotel is to the rear with the high boundary wall as a defining feature between two land ownerships. I've just reversed the photograph to sort of more to the southwest to show as you would look out towards exiting from the application site, again, where the timber gates will be located. This is within the sort of centre of the application site. The Harper Hotel is behind the high level wall. The fencing, which you can see in front of us, sort of in front of the double garages, is where the sort of the boundary division and the hedge will be positioned, hedge and fence. This is the north of the application building, which is sort of the front elevation. Again, another visual of the front elevation of the application building. Again, this is the rear where there are roof lights, but there is no proposed openings proposed in this elevation. And this position is taken from North Street, looking through the sort of access road between the Langham Hall and the rear elevation of the application building to access and the separate part of the, I guess, the wider land ownership with the adjoining neighbour. I thought it'd be useful to have these two. These show the proposed layout for the application building, now the holiday layout, and also the layout proposed for the previous approval for the Harper Hotel. As you can see, that the area sort of hatched shows that identify the land that within separate ownership, and also the area in green on the plan for the 22/2091 shows that there is a shared access arrangement, and it shows we're able to go to and through and flow through the both sort of units essentially. But it was identified within separate ownership within the application site of the adjoining neighbour. Officers, to conclude the committee report, we recommend approval based on the following conditions listed on the slide. The presentation is concluded and welcome any questions.
Thank you. We now move to speakers from Town and Parish. I have Mr. Patrick Allen. You'd come to the front, please. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. The parish council accepts the curtilage of the grade 2 listed building, Langham Hall, has been broken up by the splitting of various elements of the property into separate titles. This is not ideal, but it is what it is. Stable Court Barn lies separately to the north of the hall and is not integral to the reason that the hall is listed. That being the south-facing facade, which the parish council notes has undergone several alterations in recent years, which do not exactly sit comfortably with its grade 2 listing. The parish council are aware that this building has for some years been both holiday accommodation and residential accommodation. Access to the hotel's outbuilding, Stable Court and the garage, will not be affected by the approval of this application, as there is access either directly from North Street to Stable Court or from the front drive off Holt Road. This has been something of a long drawn-out application that started back in May of last year. Much of this delay has been caused by spurious claims by the Harper Hotel, leading to a campaign of objections to this application. Their objections on planning grounds have been studied and dismissed by the planning officers and the conservation officer. The hotel had every opportunity to purchase the barn. Why they did not is a mystery that only they can answer. But to continue harassing the Crisp family has sadly done little to enhance their reputation in the community and cause division within the village. I would urge them to look again at the situation, both here in this chamber and the threats of civil court action, to accept that they missed an opportunity to purchase a site which now someone else owns. Annoying for them, as it is, it will have little impact on the day-to-day operations of the hotel. The parish council supports this application. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one objecting speaker, Mr. Sam Cutmore-Scott, if you'd care to come to the microphone. Again, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Patrick. There's quite a lot wrong with what Patrick just said. Firstly, Stable Court does not have access from Holt Road. Secondly, Stable Court does not have access direct from North Street other than across the driveway, which passes to the front of Stable Court Barn, which you will have seen is the only access for vehicles to the double garage, which is part of Stable Court. The extension of the Harper Hotel into the Langham Hall site is essential for the long-term viability of the Harper and of the 2 local village pubs which it currently supports. And to create an independent holiday let within the middle of that site would seriously undermine whether or not the extension should take place. We all know how hard to control holiday lets are, and it would potentially create a noise issue and a nuisance issue, but it would definitely create a very serious security issue. The separation that's been noted in terms of the titles is entirely artificial. Mr. Burlingham of Langham Hall split it up into various bits so that he could take finance out against the various different parts. And on his bankruptcy, they all ended up in the ownership of the respective lenders. He had in his time handed ownership of various titles between himself and his wife, his wife and his daughter. The applicant is claiming that the right of access across Stable Court barn to stable court, which is shown on the title deed, has lapsed on the grounds of common ownership, which is in clear contrast to their statement now, which is that their site has been split into separate parts and ownership is separate. So I would argue that there is some selective what's the word I'm looking for? The choice of facts to point out has been varied depending on the audience in question. So yeah, I think in summary, it would put all of the livelihoods that the Harper and both pubs provide in jeopardy, and there is no other access.
Thank you. We have one supporting speaker, Mr. Jonathan Crisp. If you'd care to come to the microphone, again, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, good morning, Chair, councillors. My name is John Crisp and I'm the applicant and owner of Stable Court Barn, along with Jess, my wife. We purchased the property from a receiving company working on behalf of the Royal Bank of Scotland back in March 2023. It was advertised by William H. Brown and it appeared to be just what we were looking for. A small holiday property with its own on-plot parking and a garden away from a busy highway. It was for sale and we were very pleased when our offer was accepted. From a very young age, we visited Norfolk, had many holidays at home, visiting parts of the coast, using restaurants and so on and so forth. And we're lucky enough that we've still got our parents available, and it was seen as an opportunity where we could provide some accessible accommodation where we could carry on having family holidays in Norfolk and to come and go kind of as we pleased, really. With regards to the application, it has gone on for a while, but I would say that we've listened to the request from the planning officer and the conservation officer on amending our application to a more fitting proposal, changing the boundary treatment and the gate style and amending the description to something that was more fitting. Before you now, we have an application which is fully policy compliant, has the recommendation of approval from the planning team. There are no objections from any statutory consultees. We have no intention of upsetting anyone, causing harm to anyone's business or threatening someone's employment. Quite the opposite. We want to make friends, use local shops and restaurants, encourage spending and employment. We have engaged a local builder from Wells Next to Sea and plan to use them to complete the work if planning consent is given today. We also have other neighbours in the village and the surrounding area, as well as the Harper Hotel. And we certainly have no plans to disrupt their peaceful life. It's important to note, I think, that the Harper Hotel is surrounded by other residential houses and holiday accommodation, not just ours. And the hotel was adjacent to this site when it was previously used as a private residence and a bed and breakfast accommodation by the previous owners. We bought the property with the intention of using it ourselves on a regular basis and with close friends and family. In later years, I'm hoping to semi-retire and to spend more time here working from home, so to speak. I would like to reiterate the fact that the red outline is what we own. I own the driveway and the entrance at the front, and there is plenty of room for parking and for parking cars on the site. With regards to Sam's comments, we have a letter from Land Registry confirming that no access rights exist across our property. That has been thoroughly checked out by our lawyers, but it's not a matter for consideration today, I believe. So we have a full recommendation for approval from the planning team. The case officer report confirms policy compliance that the proposed use is compatible with its surroundings. We would be glad to receive the committee member support so that we can complete the proposed work and begin to spend time using the property with our children, parents and friends as planned. Thank you.
And last but not least, the local member, Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, committee. As you've now heard from our planning officer and our visitors, this is a contentious application for what on the face of it appears to be a small, inoffensive application. I do not take calling items into committee lightly, but having heard both sides of the argument in relation to this site, I can see both perspectives and therefore took the decision this should be decided by yourselves, please. I have studied all the papers associated with this application and have to say, I do agree with the planning officer that there is no general reason why this planning application should be refused. However, we do have the unique situation of the application site in relation to the Harper Hotel to consider and its potential impact on their business. As we know, the importance of business in rural areas is significant, and the Harper does employ some 65 people in a rural location and has grown to become an important part of the North Norfolk tourist economy. As you have heard, they are extremely concerned about the potential impact of this application on that business and their plans to further develop other parts of the site to build on their investment. On the other hand, I have also spoken at length with the applicants and have received assurances from them that they do not intend to be letting the property out to all and sundry, but rather to make use of it for their and their families' and close friends' personal enjoyment. They have told me categorically they have no wish to be noisy or difficult neighbours. There are, as we have heard, still other matters to be resolved, but those are of a civil nature and not planning considerations. I do hope you can understand why I thought this should be decided by committee and would appreciate you giving it your full attention. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Just to remind members that you've heard about some odd potentially civil disputes around this application. They are not part of our consideration. We make our decision purely on planning grounds. With that, who wishes to start? Yes, Councillor Toy.
Can I ask how many people the holiday accommodation accommodates?
Yeah, it's only got one bedroom in there. It's a one-bedroom unit.
Okay, thank you. I just have to make one comment. Somebody said about the concern about noise if this property is rented out as a holiday accommodation, but in my thinking, it probably would be the other way. So on those grounds, I am quite happy to support this. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, Yara.
I don't see there's a problem with this because surely somebody wants to put up a planning application and would have done a business plan. You don't set up put a planning application willy-nilly. You sort of put a business plan together. So I'm assuming some sort of business plan must have been put forward. And I don't really see a problem with this. So I'm happy to second it.
We have no further speakers then. We have a proposed by Councillor Kim Toy, seconded by Councillor Mancini Boyle. Go to the vote, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Brown,
For.
Councillor Fisher,
For.
Councillor Heinrich,
For.
Councillor Holiday, Councillor MacDonald,
For.
Councillor Mancini Boyle,
For.
Councillor Neverway,
Abstain.
Councillor John Toy,
For.
Councillor Kim Toy,
For.
Councillor Varley, Councillor Vickers,
Abstain.
and Councillor Withington.
For.
That is 9 votes for, 3 abstentions. The vote is carried for the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. The application is approved.
Good morning. Application PF/23/2699 is a change of use application from a bed and breakfast building to a residential dwelling in Cromer. This slide shows the location of the building. It's highlighted in red and you can see Runton Road along the top of the photograph. For more context of the building and its location, there are some pictures, and these pictures are of the front of the building. These pictures are of the street view outside the front of the building. These pictures are the rear of the building, and these are the street view at the rear of the building. The key issues of the proposal are the principle of development, which is considered to be acceptable, impact on the character of the area and the design. There's no proposed external alterations, so there's considered to be little impact. Residential amenities, which the proposal would have little effect on. Effect of tourism, because this is the loss of a tourist accommodation, but there's considered to be plenty of alternatives close by to the building. Highways, which would be improved because the parking requirement would be reduced with this building becoming residential. And the only other matters to consider were the GI-RAMs, which wouldn't be applicable in this situation. The recommendation is therefore for approval, subject to conditions regarding time and development in accordance with the plans. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, and well done for your first presentation. Very confident and well put. I have no town or parish, no objecting, no supporting speakers, and nothing from a local member. So, yes, because
I can see no real objection to this. It's returning what was originally a family home to a family home. And as the planning officer said, there's plenty of other holiday accommodation nearby. So I'm happy to propose it.
thank you. John Floyd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to thank the officer for the presentation. The summary was exactly as I read it, the points that she raised in terms of traffic and everything. So I'm happy to second it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, did you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was going to propose seconding the application. I agree entirely with Councillor Vickers and Councillor Toy. I think it's important to note that it's only because of our constitution that this has been brought forward due to the identity of the applicant, and otherwise it probably would have been a delegated decision for approval. So I'm very happy to support it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Nobody else wishes to speak? Go to the vote, please, Lauren.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Brown,
For.
Councillor Fisher,
4.
Councillor Heinrich,
4.
Councillor Holiday, Councillor MacDonald,
4.
Councillor Mancini Boyle,
For.
Councillor Neverway,
For.
Councillor John Toy,
4.
Councillor Kim Toy, 4, Councillor Varley, Councillor Vickers, 4, and Councillor Withington, 4. It's unanimous. That's 12 votes for the officer's recommendation.
Application is approved. And last decision item, agenda item 10, is Gimmingham PF/23/2322. Again, it is before us only because there is elected member interest in the property. Okay. Great. Would you plan for this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this application is for conversion and extension of a detached outbuilding to form a residential annex to Hall Farm Cottage. This will be for including external alterations and installation of external cladding to the walls. This is the site plan. I've highlighted in green the location of where the outbuilding currently lies. And then this is the proposed site plan. We will see a link or a path linking the dwelling to the annex, as well as then sort of a paving area to the rear. And then another aerial view, you can see the outbuilding on the right-hand side. This is the existing floor plan, and then the proposed floor plan. And then just some site photos just to give context of the building as to what it looks like at the moment. Just to clarify as well, although it's not necessarily clear in the photos, this is a residential annex that will be associated with Hall Farm Cottage. And this is detailed within the planning statement, which does detail its ancillary use. These are the key issues for the development. And the recommendation would be for approval, subject to conditions for time limit, plans, materials, and ancillary use. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I have no town or parish objecting or supporting speakers. Local member is Councillor McDonald.
As this site's an existing workshop building and a little bit run down, I've got no objection to the being an annex to the main building, and as it's visible from the road, I believe the development will improve the appearance. I notice it has solar panels, which I'm pleased about, but I'm not sure what heating's going to be in it. I've driven the road and had a look and also discussed it with the parish council, and nobody has any objections. I'm happy to propose.
Thank you. Who else wishes to come in? No. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tory. Victoria?
I just raise a very slight concern about the amount of glazing to replace the door. And I know it's on the south facing, which in general is better, but from the sort of AONB point of view, and it may even not be in the NB. I'm sorry, I don't know that for sure, but in general, I would possibly request that some of that was smart glass rather than normal glass. Thank you.
It's certainly something we could inquire with the applicant if they wish to, but we did consider within our assessment that it didn't deem it was going to be significant enough to cause detrimental impact to the significance of the national landscape to warrant requesting within the application.
Okay, do you want to come back, Councillor Holiday?
I think that's unfortunate, but it's not going to change, not going to make me object to it now, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to come in? Okay, we have proposed by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor John Toy. Can you go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Brown?
For.
Councillor Fisher?
For.
Councillor Heinrich?
For.
Councillor Holiday? Councillor McDonald?
For.
Councillor Mancini Boyle?
For.
Councillor Neverway?
For.
Councillor John Toy?
For.
Councillor Kim Toy? For. Councillor Varley? Councillor Vickers? And Councillor Whittington?
For.
That's unanimous, 12 votes for the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Approved. Right, let us move on to item 11. Development management performance update. Yeah.
I'll keep the business like speed going. So the reports before you on page 45. There are two figures that I said are to be provided. And I can provide those to you now. In terms of the speed decisions made for non-majors, the figure on the 24-month average is 94.26%. So that's a continuation of the performance we had from the previous months we reported there. And also on the appeal decisions, so the number of decisions that we've had allowed by the inspectors as a percentage of our total number of applications determined, the 24-month average is 0.45%. So you see that the government target is 10% and our target is, we set ourselves as 5%. So we're very, very much within our target that we've set on it. I'm happy to take any comments on the performance before we move to section 106, Chair.
Anybody wish to comment? No? Okay, then if we can go to 106, please.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to report that Purdy Street Salt House is completed. Also, we've got completions, it doesn't say it, but on the agricultural barns for Hindleveston. And yesterday, options were signed for the 2 West Beckham Section 106 agreements, the planning permission. So we did just hit the timescale for those for 4 months, and they have they're completing today. So we've got some real progress. And also, you'd be very pleased to know the draft Section 106 unilateral undertaking. There's a bit of a flurry last night about it, but the 2 one-bed tree houses near Melton Constable, that document has been agreed as well now. So you should see a lot of change to the list next month.
Chair, can I just say thank you to the Solicitor to the Council for her work in completing these agreements. It's really encouraging to see the progress that we're making, particularly on the one near my ward at Swanton Novas on the tree houses. That's been a bit of a saga. I think we've been probably 12 months for various reasons on that one. So that's really pleasing to see that coming to a conclusion. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Yes.
Just going back to the development management performance update, well done, Jeffrey, by the way. Just to say, you keep the figures up higher than the average, which is great. So well done.
Thank you for that. Okay, the last point, agenda item 12 is the appeals. Any updates? Jeff?
Yeah, so since the report was drafted, we have had, we should be getting a few decisions coming through. We've had a decision for an application at 5 Meadow Way in Sheringham. So it's kind of, the decision was dismissed, but there is a sort of costs decision with that as well. So I'm going to do some internal review on that, and I'll report back to the next committee in terms of what the implications are, if there are any implications for that cost decision on that particular application. But it's been a long running site, the one at Meadow Way. We've had quite a number of appeals over a number of years, so it's quite a well known site to us. So that's the only change on your list. But again, happy to take any questions on the long list that we have of outstanding appeal decisions.
Yeah, I think the only concern is the one we always have, that there's some applications going back some considerable time, which have yet to be dealt with. I think there was a couple of enforcement actions in Fakenham in particular, which have, been around for 3 years.
I mean, there is no magic pill for getting appeal decisions progressed. I mean, the inspectorate have their own recruitment challenges and difficulties, like a lot of planning authorities have. And I think some of the more complex applications or appeals seem to get progress more quickly for various reasons, whereas some of the what you might describe as sort of lower level appeals don't always get progress because they haven't got the officers to deal with that bulk of work. But I think the situation may not progress, may not improve for the inspectorate, given the fact that the free go has now been taken away from applicants. So we may get more people choosing to appeal in the future, which will only add to the burden of work for the planning inspectorate. But all we can do is keep the pressure on the inspectorate, keep asking for progress, and report back to you as we do every month on progress.
Yes, anybody wish to comment? Yes, Councillor Brown.
Yes, Chair. Suffice to say, I sympathise with our planning officers for the frustration on the delay on, in dealing with appeals by the inspectorate, and congratulate them for progressing the ones that we've had decisions on to date, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Willington.
I was just wondering, I don't know whether this is possible, whether it's possible on this list to have the date when the appeal commenced, because it's sort of, looking at it, unless you're constantly involved in the development committee, you don't have that understanding of which ones have been on there for donkeys or have just come on.
I'm just making a note of that request. I mean, in theory, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible, because we hold a date of when the appeal was submitted or made valid. So it's probably easy for me to say yes. It's probably harder for the people in the background to get the information onto the list, but I'm sure it is possible.
I just think it might be useful, and I think it's also for members of the public who are interested in this, it gives them an understanding of what the true situation is as well with the planning inspectorate, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It provides context, because if it was last week, it's a different matter than it was 2 years ago that it was submitted. So, yeah. And actually having an idea of how long the appeals process is taking actually might give people an idea not to appeal and actually try and work with us and progress applications more productively. Because actually, if it's a 2-year wait for an appeal, it's probably better to be more productive and work with us. Just a thought.
I think that would certainly be a useful indication to applicants. It's frustrating from our own point of view that these are taking so long, but it must be equally as frustrating for an applicant who's hoping, often against hope, given our record, that they might get something through on an appeal. So, yeah, useful to know. And again, as Brian has said, it may indicate to applicants that yes, working with planners and getting something acceptable in the first place actually is a lot easier than doing what you want and then hoping an appeal might succeed. No further questions. We have no private business, so move